Hi all, we're going to look now at the Linares 1991 tournament with an emphasis on actually Vassily Ivanchuk, who was 21 years old at the time of this event, and he won this tournament half a point ahead of Kasparov. He faced Kasparov in his first round game and he kicked off with e4. This is truly a fantastic game and quite magical in a way, how the idea of the two bishops being an advantage is seemingly refuted by this game example in an extremely dramatic fashion. Kasparov played the Sicilian defence and Ivanchuk played knight f3, nothing unusual there so far. After d6 though, he played bishop b5 check, so a surprise already on move 3. Remember that Ivanchuk had lost in the previous year's event to Kasparov playing the Sicilian, but here he's playing Kasparov again, but with this innovation now, bishop b5 check. Kasparov played knight d7, and now Ivanchuk played d4. So other than bishop b5, it seems to be as usual to play d4. So knight f6, now castles, c takes d4, and now Ivanchuk plays queen takes d4. So the queen is nicely in the centre. It can't be used as a tempo game without black incurring some structural weakness. So black doesn't want to play something like e5. Instead, Ivanchuk faces a6 from Kasparov, and now he voluntarily gives up the bishop. So ordinarily this would be the start of some sort of Maroczy bind, with white later playing c4. Because when white gives up the light squared bishop, it's okay. It's more okay to put pawns on the light squares. Here now, instead of playing c4, Ivanchuk continues with bishop g5, outrageously giving up a second bishop now. So after h6, he gives up the second bishop, but he does inflict double pawns on Kasparov. And we see now how the bishops are completely destroyed, and Kasparov boxed into a corner, completely beaten up in this game. It's just absolutely incredible. White's strategy here is basically to squeeze on both sides of the board. Black into a pulp. We'll literally witness this now. c4, e6. So we see now White's queenside expansion with the classic Maroczy bind setup with pawns on c4 and e4. That's fine so far. Now king h1. So White's preparing for Black's sort of counter-attack on the g-file, but it's a really token attack. It's really not very well supported. So Kasparov tokenly tries to attack Ivanchuk, who just ruthlessly gains space there on the queen side and sort of ignores this attack, just plays h3 now. These two bishops are sort of impotent now. So b4, squeezing Black on the queen side first. So there's a nice pawn on b5. The slight liability is the c4 pawn. So Kasparov puts pressure on that. And after queen c5, Ivanchuk retains the queens on the board. Now rook g8. So Kasparov starts an attack, but it really is very easy to defend against. Just rook g1 now. So queen f4, rook ef1. So it seems a bit silly to put these rooks like this. It's just an incredibly unusual game to even play through. b6, and now knight e2, gaining a tempo on Black's queen. And now we see a great pawn sacrifice. c5. So it vacates this important square for the knight. And the bishops are even more harassed after this. So rook takes c5, Black's temporarily pawn up. But what does Black do now after knight c4 to defend the b6 pawn? It's very hard, this position. Rybka actually thinks White has a slight advantage here. So king f8 is played. Knight takes b6. So the bishop goes humbly back to e8. These bishops are still completely useless and are about to get even more useless. Note how White has squeezed on the queen side now with this b5 plan. So now it's just left to squeeze on the king side. So f4, getting the pawn to f5, is a symmetrical kind of strategy. And that's the beauty of this game, is that White first gave up his bishop his light square bishop, then gave up his dark square bishop, then squeezed on the queen side, and now is squeezing on the king side. So b5 followed by the f5 strategy. There's a remarkable strategy symmetry I haven't actually seen before. So e takes f5, rook takes f5, now rook c1, so threatening rook c8, ominous threats, or rook c7. It's very dangerous for the black king. So Kasparov plays king g7, which gives Ivanchuk the opportunity to play the move g4, which actually really works in this position. Black can't do hg, that would be terrible. Queen g3 check and then queen takes g8. So black has to play rook c5. So white's got these lovely pawns now on g4 and f4. Ivanchuk snaps off the rooks and plays knight c8. So these bishops are getting further harassed. These poor bishops are just getting squeezed, as well as black's position on both sides of the board. Queen d8, so this bishop's now being harassed. Kasparov desperately plays queen g6 here, giving up this bishop temporarily, or saying, please Ivanchuk, take the bishop so I can get some counterplay with queen d3. It probably doesn't even work. Let's have a look with Rybka. Queen takes e8, queen d3, rook g2. Does this just about give black any compensation? This kind of continuation? Maybe. So Ivanchuk didn't want any of this. He just stopped Kasparov getting any counterplay at all. He played f5 here, blocking the queen. After queen h6, he stops again the queen coming in with g5. And after queen h5, he stops the queen coming in again with rook g4, sacrificing the f pawn temporarily because of knight f4. Another beautiful vacation move. Square vacation, like the square vacation on c4. It's just the symmetry again for the third time. A symmetrical plan. And notice now after queen h8 how the black pieces are completely boxed in. It's like Fischer-Random or something. It's like a Fischer-Random start position Kasparov is being forced into. And it's actually a forced mate in 3 now. Just queen f6 check, king h7, and rook takes h4 mate. Kasparov completely obliterated in the Linares 1991 tournament first round against the 21-year-old Ivanchuk, who is, by the way, the current world rank number 2, 2787 in 2007. We haven't seen the last of Ivanchuk, and this game was played way back in 1991. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's have a very fast review. So giving up one bishop, the bishop on b5, giving up the second bishop. Now we have the squeezing strategy on the queen side, establishing a reinforced pawn on b5. Next we have the squeezing strategy on, well, the square vacation on c4, which later that we see a similar vacation on f4. So the knights get very, very aggressive with these temporary pawn sacrifices. So we see now the bishop's getting boxed in. So the square vacation on f4, symmetrically to that c4. And now we see Kasparov just boxed in and mated. Brutal. Great stuff. Please leave any comments on YouTube. And it was a great game, wasn't it? See you later.